Hi, I'm Eli Crozier. Before I was a criminal defense attorney, I used to be a prosecutor with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which is where we're standing in front of right now. What I'm going to talk to you today about is the very first stage in which the DA's office gets involved in a criminal case. What happens is after a suspect is arrested and processed at the precinct, the arresting officer will send the arrest paperwork to the district attorney's office's Early Case Assessment Bureau, or ECAB. Now, some offices call it ECAB, other offices call it the complaint room, but it's pretty much the same thing. The purpose of ECAB is for the prosecutor to make a number of charging decisions. They have to determine whether or not the case will be handled as a felony or a misdemeanor, to determine which particular criminal offenses they should charge, to determine whether or not they should be asking for bail, to determine whether or not they should be asking for an order of protection. After these charging decisions are made, the prosecutor will then draft a criminal complaint or accusatory instrument, which will then be sent to the arraignment part. The way this works is the prosecutor will take a case from the top of the pile. And the thing to remember is this is more like triage at a hospital. This is not the time for a full-fledged investigation. Rarely will a prosecutor be reviewing surveillance footage, going through medical records, looking at body cam, or interviewing eyewitnesses. That's for later on down the road. This is triage. They have to determine which direction the case should go. The way that works is the arresting officer will call the prosecutor on the phone, and they'll have a short conversation about what's alleged to have happened during the incident. That's really it. It's a matter of a couple of minutes on the phone and the charging decisions are made. When it comes to a domestic violence case, there are some extra steps that might happen, and that makes it a more time-consuming process. One of those steps is the prosecutor may wish to interview the suspect about what happened during the incident. And when that happens, the arresting officer will bring the suspect up from the tombs, which is below the DA's office and the courthouse. The suspect will be brought to an office in ECAB, and in that room there'll be the prosecutor, the arresting officer, and the suspect. The prosecutor will read the suspect his or her Miranda rights, and if the suspect waives those rights and agrees to talk to the prosecutor, well, at that point, the prosecutor is going to start asking questions about what happened. Now, the thing to remember here is that especially in a DV context, the suspect wants to talk. He wants to get this off his chest to explain what really happened, to share his side of the story, and to explain away his conduct. Whether he realizes it or not, though, he might be confessing to charges that the prosecutor is considering bringing or not bringing prior to that confession. And even if he doesn't necessarily confess to a criminal offense, he might be corroborating details of the incident that otherwise might not have been provable. Another thing the prosecutor might do in a DV case is he might reach out to the victim or the complaining witness from ECAB. And in that short introductory phone call between the prosecutor and the victim, the prosecutor is letting the victim know that charges are being brought against their loved one, that they might be asking for bail, and that they almost certainly will be asking for an order of protection. The thing to remember about an order of protection in a DV case is that the suspect is the victim's loved one. And when an order of protection is granted, that means that the suspect can have no contact whatsoever with the victim. Now, during that phone call, when I was a prosecutor, a lot of the times the victim would tell me they don't want to go forward with the case. They don't want charges brought. They don't want an order of protection, and they want their loved one to come home. Now, while that information is certainly relevant to how the case might be handled down the road, that is not relevant for the charging decisions in ECAB. In all likelihood, the case is still going to be charged and the prosecutor is still asking for an order of protection. Well, after the case is drafted, the case is then sent to the arraignment part. And now Jeff is going to talk to you about what happens at arraignments.